if they do move on from Kevin Stefanski, what are some of the things that you want to see relative to a head coach? And I want to see a guy that's been a head coach before. They've had no luck with. I mean, keep in mind, everybody that loves John Dorsey, he thought giving Freddie Kitchens the head coaching job was a good idea. That's not quite as bad as Deshaun Watson, but it's still really bad.
Yeah, I think here's what I'll tell you about that. I think that in most of these situations, when you're looking for a new coach, I think a lot of teams operate like people do when they're in a breakup. You date someone who maybe is a little bit too much spice of life, and they put you through a little bit too much, and you were worried about where they were all hours of the night. You're gonna want to land on someone a little bit safer the next time around. You date this, and by the way, you usually overcorrect. Then you end up dating someone who's a little bit too safe and boring, and you want to find a happy medium. Who I would describe Kevin Stefanski right now as kind of like the safer kind of guy. You have a coach who you hired because of his acumen with offense, his acumen with quarterbacks. But I think one of the questions we've had about him over his 6-year tenure here is like, does he bring that football rah rah culture? Like, are guys running through a wall for this guy? There have been accountability questions. Is he a straight enough shooter? And again, that's a lot of that is based on how he performs when there are microphones in his face. And I think it's completely reasonable to say that he probably acts differently when there are not microphones in his face. But that's the public perception of Kevin Stefanski. I think the natural correction there would be the opposite of Kevin Stefanski is hard nosed locker room speech guy. Defense coaches tend to fit that mold a little bit more. And it just so happens that a lot of these, the Mike Shula's getting buzz, Jesse Minter's getting buzz, defense coordinators at the Chargers and the Rams, respectively. Those are defensive guys. It's a copycat league, right? Seattle Seahawks are enjoying themselves a very nice season because they hired Mike McDonald, who was the defensive coordinator over in Baltimore. That could be a shift change or a trend shift across the league. There's more openness to defensive coaches. I mean, like, is it like a guy like, I don't know if this is the guy who would get the job, but I'm describing Jim Schwartz in many ways.
Right.
Am I not? He's an
Yeah.
older coach, but he's a defensive coach, and it's very clear that he knows how to govern the energy of a locker room. That defense has had a lot of reasons to just at a certain point, like, look, the offense is scoring 14 points a game. What are we doing out here? But they bring it every week for the most part, right? And I think that's been a really overlooked, impressive part of this team is his ability to motivate that team. And again, I'm not behind the scenes. I don't know how Kevin motivates and doesn't. He's had moments when they beat Miami. There was a big conversation after the game about how he really brought it in a Monday meeting and said, we expect more out of you guys. And they responded. Okay. So that's not all the way fair, but public perception is that Kevin's the more reserved, cerebral game plan guy, play designer guy. So the opposite of that would be rah-rah defensive coach.